Hey, what's up, universe? So this is episode 4 of It's a Choice. And I have a feeling that this is going to probably rabbit trail just a bit. But I appreciate you sticking with me so far, and we'll see what comes of it. In this episode, what inspired me, what I got inspired to talk about, or what I will speak about, is fear and danger, the difference between these two, because our words are important, right? And understanding the actual definition of words is also extremely important. We speak our realities into existence, and we attract things based upon our ways of being and our vibrations and the words we use. So it's really important, in my opinion, to be mindful of all of those things, of our thoughts and our words and our vibrations. So, if you've been with me so far and you've listened to the previous episodes, that you know that in the last episode, I spoke about a change, and there was a lot of fear in me about that. There was a lot of fear of coming back to Kansas City in a way. There was a fear around uncertainty because I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. I had no idea if I was making the right choice. Because I had created this opportunity for myself by changing all of these relationships in my life and allowing myself, creating the space for me to choose where the fuck I was going to go and what the hell I was going to do. And it wasn't until it came up for me that I literally had actually zero idea on what I was going to do. I really didn't have a plan, preparation, or anything. I was just totally off the cuff, which is how I've lived my life for the last 41 years. That's a whole different story about like structure and boundaries. But coming home, there was a fear of if I'm making the right choice, because I had created this opportunity. I could go anywhere that I wanted to. And if I came home, was it a failure? Was it a missed opportunity? Was I fucking that up? And then after I got back to Kansas City over this past week, it's become more apparent to me that coming back to Kansas City was the right choice. And it's hard for me to call Kansas City home right now. It just doesn't feel like it used to feel to me. I don't feel rooted here anymore. I still feel like there is quite the potential and possibility, and my mom speaks to this, and I think others in my life sense it as well, that I may not be here for another long period of my life. It's quite likely that I may leave again. I don't know where, but so calling Kansas City home is different. Anyway, part of the process over this past week is to allow myself to step into some things that are uncomfortable for me, to be certain ways that are uncomfortable for me, to have uncomfortable conversations, to push boundaries that are uncomfortable, and to not just my own boundaries, definitely other people's boundaries. And the thing that I decided, that I came to, that I chose, was that I'm just fucking tired of being afraid. There's certain areas of my life where I had lived in fear for a long time, and I let fear dictate to me what it is I was going to do. And it wasn't just that. It was around, what I came to realize is that there were people that I was choosing to allow, people that I'm not even here to serve, to shape my beliefs and interpretations and choices on how I was going to live my life. And I'm like, that's not gonna fucking work, man. Like, I have to make choices that I'm afraid to make because it's gonna change relationships, and it's gonna change boundaries, and it's gonna push those boundaries, and it's gonna be fucking uncomfortable. It's gonna be painful. I may even lose shit. Lose relationships. And I was like, what's worse? Living in fear and not being authentic to myself and being completely out of alignment with myself and being a different person for different people just because, for the sake of a relationship, for keeping the peace and operating out of fear that way and choosing that, or going ahead and losing what really isn't serving me or shifting and changing what really isn't serving me, and becoming much more in alignment with myself, and choosing to be fearless and to choose not being afraid of those things. And so I chose to step into that, because in other areas of my life, I've totally chosen a more fearless type of an attitude. I mean, you can hear it from the first episode, right? When I'm doing intuitive decision making, there's definitely certain times in my life where I'm like, fuck the fear. I don't give a shit. But when it comes to personal relationships, depending, like in the matters of the heart, I've had a lot of fear around that. And even if I had a nudge, I may let that fear really just kind of like put the brakes on. And so I've decided to like reevaluate that, right, over this past week, and just to kind of say, fuck it. Like, I'm tired of living in fear that way, and I'm tired of being afraid of all of the repercussions. Because when one chooses that, to change those types of relationships, both with your family or intimate partnerships or good friends or things like that, things that you've held dear for a long time but that need a shift, there's other ripples, right? It's not just that person that you're going to impact. It's not just that one relationship that's going to shift. It's very likely that other things are going to shift around that, or other people will be affected and impacted. So there can be a lot of fear from a lot of different areas, a lot of perceived consequences, and things like that, right? So in this regard, I guess what I'm trying to say is that this was an inspired move, but it was different than kind of like what I was speaking about in my first episode. There's times now over 2020 where that envelope, that pressure, that membrane hasn't existed for me, and I just have to I get other nudges, but it's not like this buildup of pressure. It seems to be more on the fly now, in the sense of what feels right. So it doesn't necessarily come in the sense of like the universe like kind of pushing me in the back or like on the shoulder and being like, hey, this way, hey, this way. It's more like a presence within myself, listening to the guide within myself and being like, how does that feel? Like when that comes up, what seems to be in alignment with what you want? Which is another fucking question. What do you want? And if you guys haven't watched Ozark, that's a great show, and I love that question. It's so simple but yet very difficult for most of us to answer, and it's the main point of one of the episodes. What do you want? Seriously, do you know what you want? I'm writing that out today. What do I want? From life. What do I want in life? And like that, what do you want? I mean, like, think about it from The Notebook, right? I love that scene. Like, one of my dear friends sent that to me, and I was like, that's for you. Like, but it's also for me. It's for everybody. What do you want? Fearlessly, what do you want? And another big question is, who am I? Who am I really? Who am I outside of the trillion fucking labels that I could put on myself? Who am I? And that's one of my favorite fucking scenes from Alice in Wonderland, is where the caterpillar is like, who are you? And I always was fascinated with that scene, because I'm like, that's a brilliant question. Who are we fearlessly? Who are we afraid of being? Who are we not afraid of being? Who do we choose to be? And who do we choose to be based out of fear? And who would we choose to be fearlessly? Those are two different people. Two different people, I guarantee it. We're all living in some form of fear. We're all living some form of a lie. Because we're not choosing that true, authentic self in some area of our life. And some of us, it's multiple areas of our life. And I know it's multiple areas of my life, and that's what I'm looking to course correct. Because the more that comes up for me, or the more that I see that in different areas of my life, I'm like, fuck that. Fuck fear. So I've definitely done some actions over this past week where I've probably have antagonized some people, and could appear to be disrespectful, could appear to be like disregarding and, that kind of a thing. But that's not my intention. Those actions were not coming from that place. They were, however, coming from a place of like, fuck fear. And then at the same time, if it incited fear in the other person, fuck their fear. And that's not trying to be disrespectful, but it is fear itself. Fuck fear. So what got me thinking a little bit about this is like, animals, like if you watch an animal documentary, or like you see birds or animals like running away before a tsunami comes or something like that, the animals are not afraid. They're not afraid. They sense danger. That's a different thing. Danger and fear, while closely related, are two separate things. That's why they're different words, right? Fear is a distressing emotion aroused by impending danger, evil, pain, etc. Whether fear comes from a threat. Aroused by an impending danger. It comes from a threat. Fear is from a threat. It's not from the danger itself. It's from the threat of danger. And it says whether the threat is real or imagined. Danger itself, the definition is a liability or exposure to harm, injury, risk, or peril. It's the threat of harm, injury, risk, or peril. So there's so many times that we allow ourselves to be threatened in life, whether it's real or imagined. And most of the time, that shit's in our fucking head, dude. We imagine that shit. So there's some quotes that I want to read about fear that play into this. Will Smith, brilliant quote. Danger is very real. Injury, harm, peril, all of that shit's real. But fear is a choice. To be threatened, that's a choice. You're now abdicating yourself. You're now choosing to acquiesce to the threat. You're kind of like, oh, fuck. I'm threatened. Can't do that. Can't make that choice. I can't live that way. I can't be that thing. I can't be that person. I can't say that thing. Fuck all that. If it's in alignment with you, don't be threatened by that shit. Motherfuckers should be threatened by you. Scare those motherfuckers. Be yourself. That's what I've got to do for me. Fuck, man. I mean, come on. Seriously. Let's start being fucking real. Let's quit fucking lying. Let's quit fucking withholding. And let's sure as shit quit being fucking afraid and threatened by shit that's probably not even fucking real. Another one is never afraid of the unknown. One is afraid of the known coming to an end. And I'm afraid of mispronouncing fucking names. So I'm going to go ahead and like totally murder these fucking names. I'm going to say it's Jiddu Krishnamurti. I don't know if I probably totally butchered that. I'm not going to be afraid of saying it. Fuck it. And I know I'm going to mess this one up because it's French, the name, and whatever. Anyway, this is one of my favorite ones. A man who fears suffering is already suffering from what he fears. And it's Michael de Montage, I believe, at Montaigne. I don't know. Whatever. Another one is the fears we don't face become our limits. It's Robin Sharma. This one I like too. Fear is a mile high, a mile wide, and paper thin. Unknown. I'm like, yes, it's exactly that. It's a fucking veil. Something that you have to step through. It's its own membrane that you have to say, fuck that shit. Fear is a mile high, a mile wide, and paper thin. And then I like this one as well. Of course, I'm only saying the ones I like. Run from what is comfortable. Forget safety. Live where you fear to live. Destroy your reputation. Be notorious. I have tried prudent planning long enough. From now on, I'll be mad. Rumi. I fucking love that. Destroy your reputation. Be notorious. Fuck what other people think. Fuck other people's expectations. Fuck the fear of the threat of what? The threat of what? Changing the relationships? That those people won't be there anymore? That one of my favorite things that I've come to realize and hear and learn over the last couple of weeks is that people have like conditional friendships, right? Like or they're friends with you because you support their story. And when you change and the story about you changes, then they're no longer your friends because you're not supporting their story. You're no longer that person. You're not being that person anymore because you have changed. So why should that threaten you? Why should that make you afraid? Fuck that shit, dude. Fuck that shit. Another one is confidence comes from being vulnerable, not by shielding yourself. It is a function of exposure. The more you are exposed to challenges, the more you grow. To grow in confidence, you must first be open to embarrassment. I'll fuck up names. Get your feet wet. There is no other way. The ancient sage. And here's another one. Fear is a pointer to your next adventure. Unknown. I love adventure. I do. I love it. It's true. And then there's this last one, and I'm totally going to mess up this name too. People have a hard time letting go of suffering out of a fear of the unknown. They prefer suffering that is familiar. And it's Thich Nhat Hanh. I'm pretty sure I'm saying that wrong. But anyway, that's what this whole fucking episode is about, basically. What are we threatened by? How are we letting those things instill fear in us to keep us small, to keep us living by somebody else's expectations, by letting other people define who we are? God damn, why would we abdicate our own sovereignty to somebody else? Why would we abdicate our own sovereignty to a threat? A threat. Fear. Fuck that shit. That's what I got. And I think I do remember my outro now. Okay. Inspiring others to live inspired lives. Because at the end of the day, to live an inspired life is a choice. All right, I love you guys. I'll talk to you later. Bye.